When it rains, it pours, and it is pouring in Detroit. Let's talk about it. This great baseball game today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Thursday, April 13th, 2023. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team, every single day. All righty. Well, that was a baseball game. That is for sure. If I know one thing, that's the hard-hitting analysis you come here for. That's a baseball team. I'm honestly asking. Tigers lose 4-3 in the 10th inning to the Toronto Blue Jays in Toronto. 6 straight loss. Genuinely asking. I don't have this prepped at all. Do we start with the good or the bad? Like, that's how we're going to break this game down. We're going to cut the show in half. Half is going to be about all the good that happened in this game because there actually was a decent amount of good things happening, and they should have won this baseball game against a much better team. Or do we start with the bad? Like, instead of our, starting pitching, offense, position players, bullpen kind of like breakdown, we're just going to do good and bad. So, like, how do we even do this? Do I have a coin? I might have my wallet on me. Oh, I think I have a quarter. All right. Heads good. Tails bad. First. It's a Rhode Island coin. Okay, tails. If anyone needs a Rhode Island, Pennsylvania mint and is a coin collector, let me know. Tails is bad, we said, right? Okay, let's start with the bad. Get that out of the way first. I kind of like that. There's quite a bit of bad. And yet again, the bad outweighed the good for the sixth time in a row. We'll start with the umpire crew. The obstruction play is ridiculous. The rule, like it there is a lot to be interpreted. It is left for interpretation, I should say. That rule is rather subjective, to be honest with you. Contact is not part of the rule. Like the people that are like, oh, he didn't touch him. Like how contact is technically not part of the rule. It's literally just like if the runner has a chance to score and someone's kind of in the way, well, that's obstruction. There's no way on planet Earth Vlad Guerrero Jr. Ricky Henderson is not scoring. The ball was at shortstop. The ball was in the infield. It just ridiculous. And again, like if you want to, like, oh, he was backing into him. He was in the path. Like it was a really, really wide turn there at third by Vlad, and the ball was literally in the infield. I think it's insane to argue that Vlad had a chance of scoring on that play. And it cost them a run, and in theory, a run wins them this baseball game. Again, in theory, I know it's not that black and white ever, and they could have scored elsewhere and all that. I know you can't really play the butterfly effect game like that, but in theory, an extra inning game, a one run is very, very important. Hard to play that game, but still the point remains. And then like a play later, runners are sent back on a steal on the flip side because I think the explanation was Eric Haas stepped on an umpire. Like he stepped on an umpire's foot, and that's like umpire interference. And so they sent the runners back. I don't. It was a weird game for the boys in blue. Weird umpired game. This game was weird on so many levels, all of which include umpire. That was a very, very strange game. We're going to put that in with the bad. What else was bad? Jose Cisnero, I mean, he threw one pitch and lost the game. So, like, he's keeping his kind of track record this season alive of just inherited runners. And like, we'll get to why I know what was it, 3 or 4 games ago, I was like, oh, Cisneros not going to come in a high-leverage situation anytime soon. Well, we went through all of the other relievers we had. So, like, it was going to be Cisnero. Unfortunately, there's really nothing AJ could have done in that situation. We'll talk about the managing of the 8th and 9th inning and what kind of led to that later. In the bad, though, still, Trey Wingenter is certainly, unfortunately for him, kind of the focal point, the highlight of this bad segment. 0+ innings pitched, 1 hit, 2 earned runs, 1 walk. What was it? Single walk, hit by pitch. He faced 3 hitters, and they all got on base. 2-run game, leave the game with the bases loaded and no outs. Pretty much can't get worse than that unless he gave up like 3 solo shots, I guess. But it was brutal. There's really no other way around it. It was absolutely brutal. We talked a lot in the spring about him and Shreve, I guess. We talked a lot about them and how for Wingenter, the conversation has always been since day one of spring training, if you listen to this show, was he's got really kind of good stuff, but on a appearance to appearance basis, it is unbelievably inconsistent command issues. And here we are. That was really, really rough. Like legitimately could not throw the ball over the plate. Throwing a ball to the backstop, hitting somebody in the foot on a full count. Not really much else to say. Like genuinely, we talk about those outings that are so bad that you don't even have to, there's no breakdown. It's just like that was an absolute train wreck. And you try to, you got to wear it, and you try to not have that happen the next time you're in a high leverage situation, or just the next time you're on the mound, period, I guess, honestly, is where we should kind of take baby steps here with this bullpen. Let's talk about the bullpen as a whole. Let's just have this conversation while we're here. Okay. We'll get this out of the way. Segment 1, you guys that you don't even want to hear any of the good, you can just listen to this kind of breakdown and then go about your day. We're 11 games into a season, right? So plenty can change and develop. But the fact of the matter is, on April 13th, you maybe have 2 relievers you half trust in a close game. Like legitimately. I'm sure plenty of people think that number is 0. And I don't blame you. Like Jason Foley, I have been very open about the fact that I'm a big fan of his, and I really like him in that first out of the bullpen role. I trust him most nights in that role. Lang, I trust when he's on and when he's even close to the strike zone, but that's somewhat of a toss-up. And when he's not near the strike zone, nobody trusts him. Shreve has been like decent this year, and honestly is probably part of the good category in this ball game, to be honest with you. So you have you have 2 relievers that me personally that like I half trust. It's really hard to get 9 to 12 outs with 2 1-inning relievers that you half trust. Even if you fully trust them, that math still doesn't add up, right? That's a lot of outs up in the air. That's potentially 2 innings still. That's 6 outs you still got to find a way to get. And it's easy to argue Lang could have gone out in the 9th in this game for sure. Like, again, we talk about all the time, hindsight's 20/20 with bullpen decisions. It's really easy to sit back and say, oh, you should have done this, because what they did do didn't work at all. And I disagree with going to Wingenter there. And clearly, like, we saw what happened. Nobody's going to argue that it was the right call. But I think this falls way more on the front office than it does AJ Hinch. Again, not that Wingenter should have been in that situation or looking ahead is going to be in that situation for the foreseeable future, but I really think that this falls much more on Scott Harris than it does AJ Hinch. And I will explain why right after I tell you all about our friends over at eBay Motors. Shout out eBay Motors, man. For a championship team, it's all about making sure every player is a perfect fit. We're talking about the Tigers bullpen fits right now, okay? A good bullpen, everything would fit in there perfectly. It's the same when it comes to your vehicle. Every part needs to fit just right. So the next time you need parts and accessories, head to eBay Motors. With eBay Guaranteed Fit, you can make sure every part you need fits right the first time around. Just add your ride to the My Garage tab and look for the green check to know your part will fit or your money back. Because just like in sports, confidence is the name of the game when you shop on eBay Motors. And with over 122 million parts to choose from, you'll be back in the game in no time. After all, it's easy to bring home a win when the right parts are guaranteed. Get the right parts, the right fit, and the right prices on ebaymotors.com. Let's ride. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. All right, everybody. Welcome back. Segment 2 here, Locked On Tigers. So we're just going to jump right back into it. None of the fluff today. We're just going to jump right back into this conversation because I think it's important. When talking about this implosion, I think this really does start at the top and trickle down. Again, we can argue until we're blue in the face about who should have pitched the ninth, should Lang have gone out there again, et cetera, but you don't have an off day for a long time. You used probably your two best relievers in the 7th and 8th, and if you waited, the Jays could have scored in the 7th, and then we're having the same conversation. It's difficult to get that many outs with not that many relievers you trust. And so I think this goes back to bullpen construction. And I want to start with me, weirdly. I don't think I'm that important. Trust me. I'm not trying to tell you that I have any pull in this organization. The opposite, actually. Maybe on this show, maybe I didn't do a good enough job covering this bullpen. Maybe I didn't do a good enough job articulating in the spring how much of a step down this bullpen would be. Or maybe I didn't challenge the front office enough about the lack of additions to the bullpen. Maybe I was too indifferent or too much of a pushover when it came to Chafin and Fulmer, or literally any Major League Baseball caliber reliever. Because the only acquisitions that were made to this bullpen in the offseason were waiver claims and non-roster invitees. This bullpen on April 13th is absolutely brutal. And again, things can change. Players can develop. We've seen very many times. And especially we have Chris Fetter. It's possible as the season goes on for somebody to grow into that role. And maybe that person isn't even on the Major League roster right now. Maybe it's going to take some roster moves to find that perfect fit and find more good relievers. But right now, your opening day roster, your presumed best bullpen that you thought you could assemble when everyone was healthy, is absolutely brutal 11 games into the season. So again, if I didn't prepare the listeners or myself, or if I just didn't realize how bad this bullpen was going to be off rip, I didn't talk about it enough, I didn't challenge authority enough, I didn't give enough people heat for how this bullpen looked, that is completely on me, and that is my mistake. And that is something that I will be wrong about. I don't fear being wrong. I wouldn't be able to do this job if I did. Okay? I don't. So I'll wear it. I will gladly wear anything I am incorrect about, literally ever. I will wear it. But I get paid to talk about this team. So you bet your bottom that the person who built this bullpen should have to wear it and answer questions about it as well. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay? I'll wear it on the chin. I'll wear not talking about this bullpen or not acknowledging, not realizing how much of a step down it was going to be from last season. Because I genuinely feel like I didn't so far, 11 games in. But you took a lot of flyers. And those flyers that you took 11 games into the season are absolutely the way this bullpen constructed is not working. So we'll see how the year plays out. Over 150 baseball games left. That's the beautiful thing about the game of baseball. There's always tomorrow, right? Lots can change. Lots will change. There probably will be some reliever that steps up and is halfway decent in some capacity. But 11 games in, your opening day roster has been brutal so far. And I think at the end of the day, that falls back on the person that built it. And I'm not saying that means I'm totally out on the Scott Harris plan because 11 games into his tenure, his bullpen sucks. Like, and I know that some people are already there. So like, I'm not saying that yet. I'm not trying to jump to any crazy conclusions or anything like that. I'm just stating what is in front of our faces on a nightly basis at the moment. And it's nothing good after the 6th inning. Okay? I hope that made sense. For the rest of the bad, Matt Vierling 0 for 4 with 3 Ks, just looked completely fooled by the splitter, and I don't blame him. We'll get to Gausman later. He's going to be part of the good, even though he's not on our baseball team, because he's unbelievable. Base running. Goodness gravy. What level is this? This is Major League Baseball. Not only do either of those things happen at any point, how do they both happen like right after each other? Eric Haas, love you to death. What on earth? Ball hit to shortstop with less than 2 outs, and he's just running to third. No issues there. Was just an absolute, was caught on an island. Was just a duck out there. Awful base running, and I'm sure he'll admit it himself. That's just unacceptable stuff from someone who's been around the game for that long. And again, is a catcher. I pride catchers as being the smartest dudes on the baseball field on a nightly basis. Can't happen. And then a couple of plays later, Matt Vierling just doesn't slide into second. Why? Great question. I have no clue. I'm not even sure I've ever seen that before. I can't even think of what would have caused that to happen. Did he think the ball was hit? That's weird. That's a weird assumption on a ball that very much wasn't. Did he think it was like a pass ball and there wasn't going to be a play? It's mind-boggling. I don't know how that's possible. And yet it happened very quickly after the Haas thing. Same half inning. Just horrific base running in this game by the Jays too. Credit where credit is due. They had some rough base running moments as well. Rather, just a bad game in terms of base running. Okay, I think that's it for the bad. I think I'm done being angry. Let's talk about the good, because there actually was quite a lot of good in this game. Just again, more bad than good for the 6th game in a row. We'll get to Erod after the break so that I can kind of talk about him a lot. Nick Maton, if you take away Sunday when he went 0 for 4 with 4 strikeouts, I have been very impressed with the rest of the season. And I know the batting average isn't that high, and a lot of people like really only care about like results and batting average and like you suck if whatever. Early on, he is working so many counts. Like almost, it really does feel like almost every count, every time he steps in the batter's box. Again, aside from Sunday, because that was brutal. It's a deep count, 2-2 count, full count, drawing a lot of walks this season. His walk rate's been great. I think he needs to be in the lineup nearly every night, especially, he's hit homers in 2 straight games at this point. So like definitely now, but he has really impressed me so far at the plate with his approach. Now it's time to turn approach and get results. Marry those two concepts. We've talked about that a lot. You can have a good approach and then pop out a fastball down the middle after a 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 pitch at bat. Right? So both are important, Wolfie. Both are important. All right? But another homer in this one. And yeah, I think, again, if you remove the series finale against Boston, you're talking about a dude who's looked pretty comfortable at the plate, even if the numbers aren't popping off the page at you. Okay, let's get into the rest of the good. We'll end on a high note, and I'll send you out on your Thursday on a high note after kind of being really mad earlier. Okay, but first I got to tell y'all about our friends over at Built Bar. If you're looking for a delicious snack, but you don't want all the sugar and calories, then you need the best tasting protein bar ever. It's Built. You have to try this. If you're like me, you want to make healthier snack choices, but you don't want to compromise taste, then this is the thing for you. It's healthy and tastes amazing. Seriously. They taste so amazing, you won't think they're good for you. You have to try it. What makes them so good? Well, for starters, they're covered in, you know it, 100% real dark chocolate. That's right, real chocolate. They come in unbelievable flavors like churro. That's my favorite one ever. I like it more than candy bars. I would like it on Halloween as opposed to a candy bar, genuinely. Peanut butter brownie, cookies and cream. They have a ton of limited time flavors they're coming out with all the time as well. They had a cookies, or they had a cake one, birthday cake like a while ago. They are always mixing and matching flavors, and all of them are always good for you. Only 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar with a whopping 17 grams of protein. I don't know how they do it, but you need to get your hands on a box of Built Bar today. For years, we've been talking about getting them at Built.com, which you still can do. But if you're close to Sam's Club, you can run and get a 13-bar box. Or you can go to your local Walmart, get a 4-bar box, cookies and cream, double chocolate, coconut puff, etc. However you get your hands on a Built Bar, just make sure you do. And like I said, if worst comes to worst, just order on built.com. Also, have to tell y'all about our friends over at Rocket Money. Okay, this is one of our new sponsors. Rocket Money is really, honestly, it's super clutch, and I'm glad that they started sponsoring the show because it's something that I've struggled with for a while. Like we've heard the term "try it for free for 30 days" like a million times, and people always go, "Oh, okay," and then they try it for free, and then you forget about the subscription, and then like months, and then years go by, and you go, "Oh my goodness, I'm paying for a subscription for something I haven't used in a while." It actually literally just happened to me when I signed up for this fantastic service. I had realized that I was paying a monthly subscription on something that I hadn't used in like 7 months, which is super embarrassing to say out loud, but shout out to Rocket Money for coming in clutch and helping me. They manage your subscriptions, and you can get a sense of what all of your subscriptions actually cost. Most Americans think that they spend around $80 a month on subscriptions when it's actually closer to $200. Again, a lot of forgotten subscriptions. It's a personal finance app that finds and cancels unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending all around, and helps you lower your bills all in one place. So stop throwing away your money, cancel unwanted subscriptions, and manage your expenses the best and easiest way possible by going to rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. That's rocketmoney.com/LockedOnMLB. All right, everybody, welcome back. Third and final segment here, Locked On Tigers. Let's get into, let's finish up the good. We talked a little bit about the good before the break. Third segment, all good vibes, okay? We're going to take the positives. I know we're 2-9. I know. I know, but it's what was that Drake line? Just got to have a warrior spirit. You know, you just got to have a warrior spirit. You just got to keep going. Eduardo Rodriguez, absolutely the bright spot in this ball game. Maybe one other person you could argue. We'll get to him in a second, but I think Erod was the star in this one. He should have had 6 innings of shutout ball, in my opinion, but again, that obstruction call got them a run. 6 innings, 7 hits, 1 earned run, 1 walk, 3 Ks, 8 whiffs, 4 of them on the cutter. That's pretty on par all around for an Erod game. He's not a super swing and miss guy. He's not going to get a ton of Ks, but he got whiffs in big situations, big spots, really high leverage counts when it really mattered. And this was a weak contact masterclass. Several double plays, a lot of really clutch pitching. Runner gets on base. Next 3 hitters all get mowed down and uncompetitive at bats. This was genuinely one of the better starts I've seen from Erod so far in a Tigers uniform. Again, I mean, he missed 3 or 4 months last year, so that's not a ton of starts under his belt, but this was a masterclass performance. And again, he really did deserve the 6 shutout innings. Average exit velocity of 83 miles an hour on almost 20 balls put in play. That's beautiful. That's Erod close to his best. Locating that cutter near perfectly, right? And the thing is, again, like if it calls for it, he can locate it and put it in a spot where it's going to induce a swing and a miss. And you can try to set that up, or he can kind of run it on the hands, especially to righties, and try and get that soft contact, which he did several times as well. He tunnels everything so well when he's on his game. Like all of his pitches are really just different variations of fastball and then a changeup. So he doesn't have anything that's super bendy or moves a boatload, and that's why he doesn't get a ton of swings and misses. But it moves enough. We talked about it a lot last season. There's pitches that don't make you miss anything, and you can barrel up. Then there's pitches that you miss barrels on. Then there's pitches that you miss bats on, and then there's pitches that are so good they miss bats embarrassingly, right? And Erod is, when he's at his best, is the king of the barrel missing. And because it's sinker, it's four-seam fastball, it's cutter, and it's changeup, right? Those are all not huge movement pitches, but just enough where you go, oh, this looks like a fastball. And then as you start your swing, nope, it's 2 inches lower than you thought. Routine ground out. Oh, it's 2 inches to the right, and you're a righty. That's off the end of the bat, weak flare or a pop out. Oh, that's you're expecting the changeup now. Well, here's a fastball. Now you're way under it. It's a pop out. He can really fool hitters and put together really good performances like that. Even the hits that he gave up, most of them were like seeing eye ground balls that were like, a couple of them were just under fielders' gloves. Like he was totally in control of this baseball game. And that is one of the best lineups in the American League. It's one of the best lineups in all of baseball. And it's a lineup that hits fastballs really well. Again, a pitcher that hits, that throws mostly variations of a heater. And it's a very powerful lineup. And a lot of times, I mean, Lord knows the Tigers fans are aware, right? Like when you have a pitch to contact pitcher against a lineup that hits the ball very hard, that's not always a recipe for success. You really have to be fooling hitters consistently throughout the outing. And I think that he did that. He also just challenges people, like, which I love. You know, if you, that is truly dominating the strike zone, which we have yet to see 11 games in to this regime's era. But it's one of, like, he's going to challenge you. He's not going to walk you because he's nibbling. Like Erod's going to walk you because he's missing his spots by a ton. He's not going to try and nibble and walk you. He's going to make you beat him by throwing it in the zone and you guessing right on one of his pitches. And sometimes he's going to get rocked. We know that sadly all too well. But when he's at his best, he can put up outings like this against one of the best lineups in baseball. Okay. Kerry Carpenter, the other star of this game, goes yard again after over 800 feet of outs on Tuesday. He's been crushing the baseball to start the season. His Savant page, go to baseballsavant.com and go look up Kerry Carpenter's name. Whole lot of red, whole lot of dark red, like barreling it up better than almost anybody in baseball so far. Average exit velocity up there with the best names in baseball. Hard hit rate up there with the best names in baseball. He's hitting the ball really, really hard. He's drawing some walks, which kind of surprises me. He's going to chase some pitches. I mean, he chased his home run pitch. So, like, I guess you'll kind of live with it if that's a thing. But, yeah, he has such natural power. Like, genuine, just natural power that – just his normal swing, the ball jumps off his bat, and he still has some stuff to work on. He still needs to get a little bit better at hitting breaking balls consistently. He still needs to get better against lefties if you want to be comfortable with him in the lineup 150 times a year. So yeah, still has a history of struggling against lefties and whatnot. But at this point in the season, he probably needs to be in the lineup every night because currently, I mean, yes, Maton has homers in back-to-back games. Torkelson has been hitting the ball pretty hard, but he's not lifting it quite enough to he has one homer on the year. Kerry Carpenter's been, I don't know, sadly, your most consistent power threat so far. Could have a couple of homers under his belt if Kevin Kiermaier didn't play an unbelievable center field. So probably need to be playing Kerry every night. He's seeing the ball really well. Alex Lang, you want to talk about the good? Alex Lang's in there. 1 inning, 2 Ks, no walks, hits, or runs. Really solid outing. Still not the best that he can be, but he was near the zone in this one. And that's my point about him. And that's why I'm probably overly critical of him compared to some of the other relievers in this pen, because when he's on and he even has halfway decent command, he's dang near unhittable. Like, he didn't have it pinpoint in this game, but he spins it so much and his stuff moves so ridiculously much that if he's even in the same zip code as where he wants the ball to be, the hitter has no chance. Even, hitters like George Springer and stuff like in this outing. So I love Alex Lang, and I still have very high hopes for him. It's a matter of consistently hitting spots. Chasen Shreve, 1 1/3, 1 run, no earned runs technically to his name, 0 Ks. He won't be stellar. Like, he's not going to be like the closer on this team, or I shouldn't say that. He might be by May. Who even knows at this point? He's not going to be like some like the sub 2.5 ERA guy or anything like that. But I could see a reality in which Chasen Shreve has a 3.8 to a 4.2 ERA, is a solid average MLB reliever, which for this team instantly makes him a top 3 reliever on the team. So there you go. He's gonna stick. I think Chasen Shreve is gonna stick. He's got barrel missing stuff and bat missing stuff too, depending on kind of what night it is. So then, I don't want to end with a Blue Jay, but like that was the end of my list. Kevin Gausman, good, really good, unbelievable at his job. 8 innings, 5 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks, 11 Ks. His splitter is genuinely one of the best pitches in the entire game of baseball. And I don't say that to be overly dramatic, like I tend to do sometimes. Legitimately, eye test, metrics, I don't care. That thing is dang near unhittable. And the fact that the Tigers were able to score 3 runs is somewhat of a miracle and is a massive win for the offense. In my eyes, it's not a win on the night. Certainly, they didn't win, but I'm shocked, I guess is the way to put it, that they even did as well as they did. And he literally went 8 innings, 11 Ks, no walks. So, like, that's the kind of pitcher you're talking about. These were actually his first earned run. He had a 0 ERA going into this start. These were the first earned runs he has given up all season. So, and again, he still went 8 and mowed you down. But he's unbelievable. I enjoy watching him pitch when it's not against Detroit. And man, that splitter for the 3rd year in a row is probably going to grade out as, I tweeted it out. I don't think it's ridiculous to say that that's one of the 5 best pitches in baseball. Like, you obviously have like really anything DeGrom throws, like slider or fastball. You have like Devin Williams' changeup is super advertised. Like Corbin Burns' cutter is going to be up there. But like, there's a legitimate argument that like, I don't know if you can name 5 better pitches than Kevin Gausman's splitter at the moment. So tip of the cap. And we should have won. We should have handed him a loss. Like, he should have a 1.5 ERA and a loss under his belt. But here we are. All right. Okay. The clock just turned midnight right now. So if you're not going to get this on time, unfortunately for the late night crew, I apologize. Only other thing, Matt Manning to the 15-day words to the 15-day IL. Tyler Nevin to the majors. He has been destroying the baseball in AAA. His batting average, I think, is legitimately over 500. Like, I'm not kidding. And that's not like 1 or 2 games. Like, he is absolutely destroying the baseball down there. So we need all the help we can get. So Tyler Nevin's going to come up, utility infielder type, plays a lot of third and first. Again, crushing the ball in the minors. We'll see how well it translates to the majors. It's not a pitcher because Michael Lorenzen's about to come back. And so when Michael Lorenzen comes back, that is when a decision is going to have to be made about a position player. And I think it's going to be Zach McKinstry. He has not really done a whole lot. Hasn't really provided much of anything so far in his first stint in Detroit. I'm sure he'll stick with the organization and go down to Toledo or whatnot. I know people are always clamoring for the scope conversation. We can have that when we have more time. But I still think they're going to give Scope a few more weeks. And like, if we're really getting blue in the face, Matt, arguing about the difference between Zach McKinstry and Jonathan Scope at second base, what has happened to us? Because neither are going to provide a whole lot. Second base is ugly right now. So Oh, Nick Maton played second in this game. I should have pointed that out. Okay. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every day. For your next listen, check on the Locked On Fantasy Baseball podcast. Win your league by listening to Matt and Dom every day as they bring you the best fantasy draft strategies. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball wherever you get your podcast and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every single day. All righty. We got through it. Talked about the good, talked about the bad, ended on a high note, somewhat. Ended on a Blue Jays pitcher, so I guess not really. What else? I think that's it. I appreciate y'all. I really appreciate y'all for tuning in, as always. On to the next one. Like I said, that's the thing about baseball. There's always tomorrow. 2 pitchers with an ERA over 10 going on Thursday. So buckle up, because that's a hitter's park these days, let me tell you. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope, and I'll catch you all then. Go Tigers.